Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make over some silver plate items. That was a request from one of my viewers and I should have already done it, but I've been lagging behind. So I'm going to start with this little riser tray. Now, although I'm going to be adding some color to this one, so that'll make some of you happy that get tired of me always doing neutrals. But with this one, I'm just going to do my usual buttercream because I want to keep this one neutral. I'll need it to do some display in the store, and I want to be able to use it in any vignette that I need it. So this is going to get 2 coats of the color Buttercream. And then once I let that dry, then I will spray a clear matte finish on it. And I just use Krylon. I'm not going to be doing any distress on this because I want to add some gilding wax. So once this is dry, then I just take some bronze gilding wax, and then I'll just put it on my finger and just kind of rub it across some of the high spots in the design, and then there won't be any need to do any distressing. And again, I've just kept this one simple, so I didn't do anything else to this. For the next item, this is another silver plate tray. And with all of these, I have cleaned them really well with alcohol because I don't want anything to keep my paint from sticking. And here is where I'm going to add some color. So I'm using the color Apricot here. And I feel like this is a good color to add just as a pop of color for spring. So I'm doing 2 coats of the color Apricot. And then I let that dry well. And then I decided that I wanted buttercream just right here in the center because I want to put a transfer on this. But I did make a mistake because I guess I didn't let it dry long enough before I put my transfer on, and it actually did pull up some paint. So the way I decided to fix that, and I did seal it first. I know some of you may think that maybe that's the problem. I did seal this first because I knew that could be an issue, but I guess I didn't let the sealer dry long enough. And it was very dry to the touch, but apparently it wasn't dry enough. So what I did was I just took a book page, a plain book page, and cut it to the size of this. And I just did that by kind of pressing it inside this dish and just kind of creasing that with my nail and then cutting that out and gluing it in. So that's what I did, and then I put my transfer straight onto the paper, and then I'll just go back and put a sealer on the paper also. But as you can tell here, I needed afterwards to clean up around the edges, so I just took this apricot color and just kind of cleaned up around those edges. Now this transfer is a Dixie Belle transfer, and I cannot think of the name of it, so I'm going to have to look this one up and add it in the description. But I like the botanicals that's on one of these pages, and then it names the plant underneath it, and I just like that simple look. And then because I wanted to bring these 2 colors together better, then I took some of that buttercream and just very lightly dry brushed it around the edges on that detail, and that just kind of helped bring it together more. And then once that dried, then I went over that with some of the gilding wax, the bronze gilding wax, and just kind of did that as if it were distressed. And then of course, once everything was dry again, then I put another coat of the clear matte spray over it. I just used Krylon clear matte spray to go over the top to seal it. And I just really like the retro look that this one has. And now for the next item is another silver plate platter that I thrifted. or I guess this, I don't know if it would be called a plate or a charger, but anyway, this one is going to get 2 coats of the color Daisy. And then again, I'm going to paint the inside of this the color Buttercream, so I'll do 2 coats of the color Buttercream on the inside. And then I sprayed this with a clear matte sealer, and once this one dried well, then I'm applying this sunflower transfer that was left over from the sunflower transfer by Dixie Belle. So again, I let this one dry really well to make sure that I didn't have that same issue. And then to add another layer of interest to this, I'm just going to put some script stamp on here with my Stazon ink, and then I will go back over this with another coat of my clear finish. Now again, I use the Krylon usually. When Rust-Oleum is not cheaper, I just get whatever is cheap. And then sometimes I use the Dixie Belle top coat. Sometimes I use a polyacrylic that I just kind of brush on. You just need to seal this with something, and you could even go over this with some clear wax. Now, I get a lot of questions on where I find my script stamps. Honestly, you can just go on Amazon and search script stamps, and it will bring up several options, and a lot of them are very inexpensive. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint all 3 of these items. This is a little pie server and a spoon that I have bent forward in the bottom because I'm going to make a little wall hanger out of it. And then I think this is like some sort of little soap dish. But all of these are going to get 2 coats of the color Buttercream. And then for this little pie server, I'm just going to add one of these little Botanical transfers to it. And all of these will get sealed. All of them will get some of the bronze gilding wax, just kind of around the edges and where there's some raised spots. That's just kind of what I'll do to all of these after I put my transfer on them. The ones that need the transfer. So once I put this small transfer on here, then I'm just going to take some lace, just some vintage lace, and put a few strands of it together and just tie a bow around the neck of this. And now the next item is going to be another one of those little soap dishes, but this one has some damage on it. So as you can see, it's broken on one end. Well, I have that hole at the top there that I can use as a hanger. So I made this little scrappy bow, and I'm gonna, I know I'm trying to use it to hide that little place at the bottom, but I decide to put it on the top after I have added a hanger. And to add the hanger, I just took a strip of torn fabric and tied it in a knot to make that hanger at the top, and then I glued this little scrappy bow over the top of it. And then what I decided to do to hide the damage on the bottom is just make some cloth rosettes and glue those over that damaged area, and then you'll never know it's there. Now I got these little birds at the Dollar General, and I actually got some last year, but I've sold all of them that I redid, and I was happy to see that they had them again this year. They also had some little red birds, but that limits you too much, the shape of the cardinal, and so these blue ones just worked out perfectly. And they have enough weight, but they're not so heavy that you can't use them in small projects also. So I'm painting one coat of the color Coffee Bean, which is also a Dixie Belle color, and let that dry well. And I just decided to go ahead while I'm painting this one. I'm going to use this in one of my silver plate items. But I just decided to go ahead and get all of them done up. So I painted up all of my little birds that I purchased. Now, after I paint this base color of the Coffee Bean, then I'm going to paint a lighter gray over the top of these. And then the breast, I will paint this terracotta color. And then once those dry, then I'll go back over all of them with a brown glaze. I'm just using a Van Dyke brown glaze. And then I painted a little bit of white, just very slightly around the eyes. And this made these look like little robins. And now I'm going over the dark part of these with some lighter gray. I guess it's a medium gray. And just kind of dry brushing over this, letting a lot of that coffee bean show through. And I left a lot of that coffee bean on the head, and then on the tip of the tail also used or left more of that. And I'm just kind of trying to make these look a little bit more realistic. I just googled robin images, and this was very easy to duplicate. And then obviously I'll finish these off once they're dry with a clear sealer. Now, I got a great tip from a viewer, and she said to put your moss inside a bag if you're going to make a nest. Just put the amount that you need in there and add some school glue to it, and then just kind of squish that together and until it all sticks together, and shape it into your nest. And that cuts down a lot on the mess, and it also makes a better nest. So I did that with this one. I'm just going to make a little, a very small nest to go in my little spoon. But I just love this tip, and it worked really, really well. So I'm going to be making several nests. This moss here, I don't know, it's some sort of Spanish moss, I think, but it has just a real muted green color to it. And I was given this by a friend, so I don't know where it came from, but it's going to be perfect for this. But as you can see, this sticks together really well, and then the longer it dries, obviously, the harder it will become. And then you can make any size nest that you want. Now here I'm adding a brown glaze over this, and it tones down that the color on the breast there, and it also gives that gray a little bit more brown, which is great for a robin. And I just was really happy with how these turned out. I didn't paint any of these this way last year, and I just happened to think of it this year because I love the little robin eggs, and I'll be adding some little robin eggs in that blue. So I decided to paint all of these like that once I thought of that. So I drilled a hole in the top of my spoon, and I glued a nest in the bottom. And then I just glued my little bird in there, and glued a couple of little robin eggs that I had painted in that robin, in that color. I think I used sea glass on it. And then I just kind of splattered some brown paint for the little specks. And then I just glued all that in there, and that makes a cute little arrangement. And as I said before, I put a screw hole in the top, and my drill kind of slid, so I got it off center, but it worked out, and now that can just be kind of screwed on the wall for decor. And then this is another one of those little soap dishes, and I'm painting it in the color Daisy, so I'll give this 2 coats of the color Daisy, and then I paint the inside with that same buttercream like I did the other pieces. And then this one will get I'll decoupage some of the Tim Holtz decoupage paper on the white part. And then once I spray all this with a clear sealer, actually I took some of the buttercream and dry brushed around that detail around the edges. And then once I decoupage this, then I sprayed this with a clear sealer. And I didn't add any of the bronzing wax to this one because I kind of like the idea of just that buttercream brushed around the edges with this yellow. Now I think I called this one a soap dish. I don't think this one's a soap dish. I don't know if it's a little relish dish or what it is, but it is too large to be a soap dish. And now this last one is another soap dish, and I'm doing it in the green that I mixed up a couple of videos ago, and I don't even know what all I mixed in this one, but I was going for a moss green, and I was happy with how this one turned out. So this one gets 2 coats of that, and I did the buttercream on the inside of this one, and then I put another one of those Botanical transfers on this, and then I dry brushed some of the buttercream around the edges of this one over the detail, and added just a little bit of the gilding wax and did a clear coat on this one, and that's all that this one got. So my granddaughter Shiloh was on spring break this week, so she wanted to come over and hang out a little while. We went and had breakfast at Cracker Barrel this morning, and now we are making lip glosses. And she loves to make the scrubs and things with me, so we decided to try this Jello lip gloss. And this recipe is on Pinterest, but it calls for coconut oil, and petroleum jelly, and then Jello. So what we're doing is mixing half petroleum jelly and half coconut oil. Now we have several little jars that my sister brought me that are just little sample jars that jelly comes in, and so her friend uses those, and she gave them to her, and she brought them for me to do something with. And I decided they would be perfect little containers for Shiloh's lip glosses. And these are going to be gifts to her friends. So this Vaseline petroleum jelly is about almost 8 ounces. So we also were mixing it with 8 ounces of this coconut oil. Now, it would be best to use organic coconut oil, but I got what was cheap, and this is what the Dollar General had. So we mix half and half of this, and then we're going to divide this up into smaller batches and add Jello to it. And the Jello ratio, once you get this 1-to-1 ratio of the petroleum jelly and coconut oil, then you'll mix 1 part of the Jello and 4 parts of this mixture. So this will be the base, and then obviously that will be the coloring and the flavoring. So we just kind of mixed it up in little batches and made so many of each flavor. And this was a little bit messy job. You do put this in the microwave for about 30 seconds, and then you stir it up really smooth. And it's best if you add your Jello while your mixture is warm. I wasn't able to do that the whole time because we made so many of them. But you just have to stir it extra good because you do want your petroleum jelly to be to dissolve. So what we did was 4 tablespoons of this mixture, and then 1 tablespoon of the Jell-O flavoring. And then I think that did about 4 little jars for us. So we just cut some circles out and dressed up the top and then put a label on them that said the flavor. We decided, since these were little jam jars, that the pink would be strawberry preserves, would be the name of it, and the blue would be blueberry jam, and then the orange was orange marmalade. And she just kind of put these in stacks of 3, and we bagged them up in a neat little package, and she'll give them to her friends. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.